Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. This is, of course, the F2 League, and you join us for round 7 in Canada, Montreal. My name is Harry, and as always, on a Tuesday night, 8 PM, I'm joined with my good friend Scott Buckner. Scott, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, hello, mate. Yeah, it's great to be here. Looking forward to it. Canada is a great track. I'm hoping for a dry race, maybe a wet quality to spice it up, but I'm hoping it's a full dry race so we can get some overtaking and some battles going on.
Absolutely, and of course, we come from a bit of a tricky time, I suppose, for these guys, Scott. We're halfway through the season. The first half is done and dusted. These guys have had their mid-season break of 1 week, and there's obviously we both drive on a Monday night, so we've sort of had that sort of rusty race, as you say, round 7. Perhaps could be for some of these guys, because it is a bit of a weird time, isn't it, the mid-season break, because you enjoy it. You do 6 rounds the best you can. You're thinking about, if you're going for a championship, which a lot of these guys still are. If you're going for race wins and podiums, you do 6 races at your best, and you sort of enjoy your week off, and then you think, oh, I've got another 6 rounds to go yet. And these guys who are going to be fighting for a championship, they can't afford to have a rusty race, can they?
No, not at all. The championship's wide open. We know Monster Blue was dominating until we hit Monaco, and he had an absolute nightmare. So yeah, like I said, the championship's wide open, and we can't afford to have any mistakes from the top guys. And looking at the championship sort of standings, it's anyone's at the minute. Top 4, they are walking away with it a little bit, but that can change very, very quickly, and we know what motor racing's like.
Absolutely, of course. I'll just pick up there on your point of course, the championship standings. It is Bistas who leads in the Ferrari by 8 points clear of Monster Blue, as you say. Monster Blue is in the best form of the season, and it's a nice dry qualifying session at least for these guys, so to be able to pit on their dry setups and go. A lot of these guys probably be qualifying on the soft tyres, we'd imagine, so I'm sure they'll be loading up their setups and looking to get out as soon as they can. But no, the top 4 really all do have a chance of the Drivers' Championship, even still halfway through the season. But Monster Blue is second after back-to-back wins with fastest laps in those races as well. Absolute domination in round 4 of China and round 5 of Abu Dhabi. Was then after not bad qualifying session. He said how much he hated the streets of Monte Carlo going into it, and sadly it was proved to be quite a justified response, as he failed to finish round 6 and he lost his championship lead, and Bistas came home a fantastic second. But driver of the day really was Mashiro. Fastest lap, race win and pole position on the famous streets of Monte Carlo. He was absolutely stunning, was the AlphaTauri driver, and he took a well-deserved victory, a first win of the season for the Japanese driver, and really cemented AlphaTauri's position in the constructors. The constructors is looking very much a one-horse race of the Hotari and Mashiro partnership is looking very, very solid indeed, but I'm sure they're going to have to fight each other on track if they are wanting to close up that gap, as Mashiro is 13 points behind Bistas and Hotari just 12. So both AlphaTauris have a little bit of work to do if they're trying to get both championships to that AlphaTauri garage. But looks like Mr. Steen is first out on track, and another guy who's out on track is Roy Boy 004, and this is someone who definitely caught the eye in Monaco, Scott, and I know he definitely caught a lot of plaudits on your behalf, because Monaco is a very notoriously difficult track to overtake on, in the rain perhaps even harder, and he gave us a terrific show, didn't he? And I'm sure he'll be hoping they can have a better qualifying tonight so he can really show off his pace.
Absolutely, he was definitely my driver of the day, I think. The car control and the drifting and the locking up and all 4 wheels sort of side, it was great to watch, and his overtaking was phenomenal. So yeah, Roy Boy, I think if he can, the thing is with Roy Boy, he's been really, really good in qualifying, but he just hasn't quite had the luck in the race. I think he qualified from memory near the back. I think he might have been nearly last at Monaco, so he did do well to come through the field. But yeah, it'd be nice to see him get a good qualifier and actually have good luck in the race, and not get caught up in any sort of instance.
Absolutely, because of course on pure race pace he was absolutely up there with Mashiro, and Mashiro really was in a little bit of a class of his own, has to be said, even in the dry quali of Monte Carlo, and he's even more competitive in the rain at Monte Carlo. But we'll see how Roy Boy does as he comes around the hairpin. Of course, just 14 turns around this circuit, 3 DRS zones, and we're coming up to the most famous couple of corners on this track. or should we say it was more the wall that's famous, isn't it? The wall of champions. As this chicane, you have to take so much speed into, you have to really ride it on the edge, as Roy Boy has done, but just over the edge, as he's invalidated at that last chicane. 1 minute 8.2, so it would have been a very competitive lap for the Racing Point driver. Let's have a look at SD Mats, the glowing white, almost Stig-like helmet in that McLaren, as he comes up to face the wall of champions. Is Bisas, an 8.8, of course, going into this race, as we often do. Scott, have a little bit of a glance over the chat of these drivers to try and keep an eye on their thoughts. If little notes for commentary maybe, as Hutari and now Megalapi goes up into provisional pole. So a great lap there from the Red Bull driver. Beastas and Superman said have had no practice, so they clearly, I mean, Beastas showing no signs of rustiness, Scott, but clearly maybe they've enjoyed this week off break a little bit too much, perhaps.
It's all mind games, isn't it? It's all mind games before a race. So you've got to try and get into your enemies' heads before the race. Let them know that we're not too confident and that we don't think we're going to be that quick. And you go and do a decent banker like that. It just goes to show, they're great drivers. They are, the quickest in F2. I don't think they'd be far off in F1, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's good. Meg, great pace from Meg. He's always been a great driver. He's always been a quick driver. It's just this season, after watching the race, he just hasn't quite had the luck that he's wanted. He's been involved in incidents. He lost it by himself at Austria. He's just had a few downs really, but hopefully he's had a week off, and hopefully he sort of recharged his batteries and he's ready to push the fight to the top 4.
Yep. And here's Monster Blue. Looks like he's invalidated his first flying run in this qualifying session, as he comes. No, he's going to go for another push lap, so he might have just backed off early on, invalidated early on. Decided to back off. Should have enough fuel to do a second push lap. I think we saw CLG Gamer do multiple push laps on a set of soft tyres on Monday night qualifying. So we'll see how he does. Of course, the only thing that will be slight of a hindrance to the Mercedes driver tonight, he does inherit a 5-second penalty, which will be added to his race time at the end of this race, and that's simply for the easy error, which we've all done and we all know is a rule. You can't press start until the admin say so. So obviously that's on the starting grid before the lights go out. You cannot press start until the admin say so. Give everyone a chance to prep their final setups, prep their fuel load, get their strategies all done, and clearly a little bit of the eagerness on the to start the Monte Carlo Grand Prix, and he gets a 5-second time penalty for that. But it comes up into the hairpin, of turn 10, and of course this little left and then a little right there just before the DRS zone. That's turns 11 and 12. It's turns 13 and 14 are of course the final chicane, and looks like everyone else is in the pit lane or on an out lap. I think Nightshade's also on a flying lap, just a few seconds further back on the road as he gets very close to the outside wall, take the shortest distance to the line. Where does the Mercedes drive go up to? It goes up into P1, 3/10 quicker than the Red Bull of McLaren, and a very good lap for the Mercedes driver to get his qualifying started.
Yeah, that's an absolutely great banker. 1.8.3. I think that's what I did yesterday after four flying laps. So great lap from Monster Blue. He needs to push. He needs to get his head down, get on pole, and in his mind, he needs to just drive off into the distance and make sure he gets no penalties. And he's 5 seconds in front of everyone else. But no, it's a great lap. I'm on board with B-Plus at the minute. He's just about to turn into the last corner. Just going through now. I think he might have invalidated this and next lap. Actually, he's on an out lap, but he cut the chicane. Yeah, he has. He's invalidated this and next lap, so that's really going to hinder his qualifying now, because he's going to have to waste a lap and then go back round again and try again.
Not good news then for the Ferrari driver. Currently sets P4 on the grid after seeing his championship rival, closest championship rival, go up onto provisional pole. And of course, the experienced Speed Queen, P13, still yet to set a lap. Got a little bit of traffic ahead of her. I'm sure she'll be hoping to get out of the way, or at least maybe she locks up into turn 10. And then just gets on the foot a little bit too much. And the Renault of our family, I think wisely, the 3-time champion saw him coming and very quickly got out of the way. I'm sure it was a little bit of an ice-off. I think it's on an out lap anyway. But a little bit of a disaster there for Speed Queen. But we'll watch Roy Boy as he blasts past the Alfa Romeo down this back straight into turn 13 and 14. Late on the brake, she carries so much speed. He's going to wrestle it over the curbs again. Doesn't invalidate it this time. No, he doesn't. Gets close to the wall, flicks open the DRS, and what can the Racing Point driver do as he crosses the line? Goes provisional pole. Goes the first man into the 1 minute 8.2. His first valid lap time that he's done. We're going to have a look and ride on board with Beastas, as you rightly point out, Scott. He is invalidated on this lap So, but a fantastic lap there from Roy Boy. It looks like he has got his qualifying sorted out, because he's if you can beat Monster Blue in qualifying, then you're always going to be very near the front, as Hutari getting a little bit ragged out the first sector.
Absolutely, I think that's going to be a cracking front row. I'm just on board with Meggy. Got a right wiggle on coming up the last chicane. He's lost a little bit of time there. But he's now just about to start a flying lap. So that may just hinder his first sector a tiny bit. He had to sort of just let off the throttle a little bit because the car nearly went round. But yeah, you know, this has gone up under pole position with a 1 minute 8.105, which is a great lap as well. So time for tumbling. Are we going to get anyone come through and maybe get into the high 1.7s? I'm quite adamant. I think Roy Boy might do that.
Yep. And we'll also just keep an eye on Hotari. He's coming up to this final chicane, and no, he goes straight on, so he's backed out. So we'll have a look and ride on board with McLuppy, and really hope that it's a little bit of a change in fortune in the second half of the season for poor McLuppy. Only 1 point to his name, and that came in Monaco. In fact, so he got his first points of the season after such an up and down start. Well, not really any ups for there, was he? He really hasn't had it his own way this season so far. But the Red Bull driver sat comfortably in a P4 position, which would be very nicely his best qualifying result of the season so far. As Mashiro, of course, your provisional pole with an 8.1 now. So as McLuppy invalidates the last couple of corners, as Simply Superman looks like he's going quicker in the middle sector split. As we're watching McLaren come through the last couple of corners, he's got the Williams of Hulkenberger behind him. He's currently sat in P10. What can Simply Superman do? He's said he's had no practice, is what he said in the chat. Mind games or not, we'll see where he moves up. He goes up into P4. Hulkenberger is about to cross the line now. He stays P10. So I've got SD Max also coming up into the last sequence of corners. Lots of these guys getting in a couple of last laps as it comes flying over the curves, flicks open DRS, and where does this put the McLaren driver? P12 to improve on, and it goes up into the top 10.
Absolutely, I'm on board with Nightshade. He's had a little bit of traffic in this first sector, a little bit off-putting for him. But I was riding on board with Beastash, and he was only 4 thousandths up on that lap time. He had to go around again, didn't he? Because he invalidated, and he actually bailed out of that lap and went into the pit. So Beastash, I think he's struggling a little bit here. He's just got to keep his cool a little bit and go out and try again. But you can see that he's just struggling at the minute. I just don't think he can quite get the feel right for the car.
No, perhaps not, as Monster Blue looks like he's invalidated on this flying run. We'll have to wait and see if he comes into the box or he goes for a second push lap on no softs. So far, looks like everyone's very keen to qualify on no soft tyres. Only Speed Queen is yet to set a flying lap in the Alfa Romeo of all 13 runners as we come into the final chicane. Nightshade slinging it around, keeping it very tidy indeed. There's the Mercedes going into the pit lane. There's a right wiggle from Roy Boy starting his new lap, and Nightshade now pops up into P4 as Roy Boy getting on the power super early at that final chicane. He's really going for it. He knows he's got a chance of not just a front row, maybe even a pole position if he gets his last couple of flying laps right. We'll see how he does as he flicks it in. Oh, and he just invalidates. You've got to take so much curb on that right to open up the left, because you can cut those corners quite a bit, as you sort of have to if you want to take the optimal speed. But he just cut it a little bit too much as he dances the rear out and then flicks open DRS. He looks like he's got his entertaining shoes on again tonight.
Absolutely, it's great. I love watching Roy Boy. Yeah, the back end's everywhere. You know, I raced against him on a Thursday night as well, and he's exactly the same. He's not a changed bloke on a Thursday night. He's no different. He's back end everywhere. It's great. It's great to follow and watch. It's a little bit off-putting when you try to overtake him, but it's good. You know, his driving's good. And he's already showing today that he has got decent raw pace. But it looks like he's not going to go for a second push lap, I don't think. He's going to go into the pits. So maybe he's going to just come in and just sort of, again, recharge the batteries, have a relax, cool down, and go back out again for one last final run.
Yeah, looks like Beastas is going a little bit quicker in that middle sector, all the way down to P8 for the championship leader, so he really needs this to be an absolute whopping last sector. Has he got good straight line speed in that Ferrari? He looks like he's kept it tidy, shortest distance to the flag, and an 8.5, so improves by nearly 3 tenths a second up into P5. Not a bad effort at all, but with 5 minutes left on the clock, I'm sure he'd be looking to go a little bit quicker, as it looks like Hutari has now pipped him to P5 as well. I think we've got Mashiro coming up to the line is our current pole sitter, going to improve further still. Will he get into the sevens? He does. A 7.7, which would have put him second place. That would have been last night in the F1 League. So that shows you what a competitive lap that is from Hashiro, whose form from Monaco is clearly duplicated onto the streets in Montreal. He is absolutely flying. And with 4 minutes on the clock, you've got the likes of Roy Boy, Monster Blue in the pit lane, and we'll be seeing that dancing purple on their telemetry screens. And I'm sure they'll be absolutely shocked by that, because they've got to go and find now about 6/10 of a second in a 67-second lap time.
Yeah, that's a lot of time to find. Well, I think that's an absolutely stunning lap. I think I only done that 2 or 3 times on 7.7 doing practice. So
with a toe,
with a toe as well. So yeah, well, that's a great lap, absolutely great lap. Yeah, I think he can now probably sit in the pits now and wait till right towards the end. And if he thinks he needs to go back out, he can. So he's got a bit of time to sort of calm down and relax. At the minute, everyone's in the pits pretty much. Got a couple of people got Nightshades on an outlap, Monster Blue on an outlap as well. I think we're going to be in for quite a frantic last 3.5 minutes, I think, Harry.
Could well be. It looks like Mr. Steen is about to set possibly his last flying lap. He will have time if he invalidates early on to maybe back off and go again. Kind of sat in P13 is the Haas driver, but it's been in fact he's number 13 as well. As comes across start finish line, just noticing there as cups around the first couple of corners, keep it tight into turn 2. A couple of upshifts on the exit as we turn into turns 3 and 4. Again, trying to take all the curb you can quite nicely. 5th gear for good traction as it then comes round the right hand of turn 5. You want to climb the curb of 6 and then just kiss it on 7. Try and a couple of upshifts, early upshifts, and then flick up in DRS. And then of course middle sector 8 and 9, one of the easiest corners to invalidate if you go a little bit too wide. So he's kissed it pretty nicely. Very clean so far from the Haas driver, currently last of the pack, and of course late braking into the hairpin, but you don't want to lock up, and he took quite a late apex there, which is pretty nice. A couple of early upshifts on the exit for best traction, and of course he'll be full beans down this back straight, flick open DRS, and of course he's only got 2 more corners to negotiate, and 1 more dab of DRS down the home straight as he brakes just after 100 metre balls. 4th gear, climbs over both curves pretty nicely. It's been a very tidy lap for the Haas driver. It comes across the line, does he improve, goes up into P10, and just right on board. I think there's someone else coming across the line. I think it might be Monster Blue potentially coming up into the last corner. Nightshades also. Nightshades does not improve, so he might have backed off, but we'll see what Mercedes driver can do as he looks like he's going quicker, and he goes up into P2, so it's improved by just about 0.5 of a second, which does provisionally put him P2 as Roy Boy is still in the pit lane, so he's going to have to be quick, but he could get another lap in yet as well, so he could still be all to play for that second front row.
Yeah, I was riding on board with Monster Blue. It was a quite tidy first sector, but he just going under the bridge into the chicane under the bridge. He just missed the apex and had to go on the brakes a little bit longer than he wanted to, and I think it just dropped him down a little bit. So he'll be a bit frustrated with that, I think, because you know, it was a good first sector that he did. So he might have, I don't know, he might have enough fuel, and they might have enough fuel now to do another lap. Maybe he's trying to save a bit of VRS, I think. So I don't know whether or not he's going to try and go for one last push lap or not, but it'd be brave if he does.
Yeah, and our Franklin's now in Renault, also on an out lap as well. I think Speed Queen also just starting her last flying lap of the session. 1:06 on the clock, so if you're not out of the pit lane now, you're not going to have time. And Nightshades in fact does retire from the pit lane. Mr. Steen's come into the pit lane, so all those out on track should have time to set one last flying lap. Got a yellow flag for now as someone retiring from the pit lane, to be honest. But let's see what Franklin can do as he starts his first lap. We'll keep an eye on people who are just about to finish their flying lap as well. It takes a lot of curb into turn 1, of course, again keeping it tight. And Franklin showed a lot of speed in his early days of Invictus, going into the second half of his first season here as he climbs over the curbs in that Renault. He's showed a lot of potential in qualifying, but for one reason or another hasn't worked out in qualifying. We'll go and have a look. I think simply Superman. No, it must be Steve Matstanger, but I think Speed Queen is the first driver who will finish her last flying lap. So we'll see what she can do through the last couple of corners. Currently sat in P11. It's the 3-time champion as we come across the home start and finish straight, and moves up into P10. So we'll have a little look, and it looks like it might be simply Superman who will be next, as he comes up in P8 provisionally on a 1 minute 8.6. Can he improve by anything as he wrestles his McLaren almost onto the grass, and he flicks up in DRS. Also got Williams in the background. He goes up into P5, so a great lap from him. What can Hulkenberger do as he goes across the line? He's invalidated, so Franklin will be next in the Renault. He's also invalidated, so he will stay P8 at best. Monster Blue is coming into the pit lane, so he won't be going any quicker. Roy Boy has also invalidated, so it will be second row at best. I think Beastas has also invalidated, so this last lap has not worked out too well for a lot of these guys. I think Meg Lugby is on a flying lap. He's got a couple of cars ahead of him who should come into the pit lane, as he looks like he's braking super late. Of course, in P9 for the Red Bull driver, as it looks like he might have just backed off, so he's clearly not going quicker. I think Beastas, no, we've already said he is. I think that might be everyone, in fact, because yep, Speed Queen's on an in-lap. So that is our starting grid, and the big surprise, I say big surprise, perhaps the surprise at the margin, Scott, is Mashiro has absolutely blown it out of the park once again in qualifying, on pole position on a very short lap by half a second. He is in red hot form, week break or not.
He is indeed. He's come through, he's had a break, and he's come back, and he's just gone back to what he had before. But I was on board with Roy Boy. He just got caught out by that chicane, but he did complete his lap, and he did a 107.901. So he had the pace to be on the front row of the grid. So it'll be quite interesting to see if he can jump Monster Blue in the first sort of few laps, and see if he can, latch onto the back of Mashiro, see if we've got a battle there. But a good tight qualifying, second separate in the top 10 or top 9, so I think we'll be in as long, fingers crossed, as it's a dry race. I think we'll be really looking forward to a good close race.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course there is your grid for this evening. All 13 cars have qualified, and it is super close, except one driver who seems to be in a league of his own there in that qualifying session. Big congratulations to the Japanese driver on pole position for round 7. And but this is what he needs to do, isn't it, Scott? Because he's got a bit of a points deficit to gain. He is 4th in the sort of a 4-horse race going to second half of the season. He's 4th. He's got 13 points to gain on Beastas, so he'll take a lot of pride in his pole position. And we've had our prayers answered, Scott. It's a nice dry race, because we know with the DRS track, with the DRS zones on this track, how much overtaking you can get around here. So that's good news for us as spectators. But this is exactly what Mashiro needs, because he's 13 points behind. He's seen Beastas kind of in the mix, really. He's not really in his usual position. We're not quite used to seeing Beastas really no lower than the second row in qualifying. So he's got a little bit of work to do as Beastas, the championship leader. But you've got to think, Mashiro, if he is going to take this championship and really overhaul Beastas and Monster Blue, which we've got to say, the first half of the season was kind of dominated between the pair, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He needs to get a couple more wins. He's going to have to be consistently on the podium. And to be fair, his form over the last 3-4 races has really shown that he has actually got a true championship credentials and a real shot at the title if he can carry this on.
Well, how I'd look at it if I was Mashiro right now, I've been there. We've all been, me and you have both been to the point where we know where we are in the championship, and we know that we've got a chance of winning it. He's got nothing to lose, so for him, he's in 4th. He's the sort of the last of the top 4 that are in the title race. So for him to get out at the front, he's got no pressure. He just needs to go for it, put his head down, and he's done exactly that. So for me, he's done the best job he can do. He's got to get it off the line and just get his head down, and then see if he can go. But obviously, we don't want that in a polite way. We want battles. We want Roy Boy up there. We want Monster Blue up there. I think we're going to be for a good race, but Mashiro's he's very quick. He's going to be one for me to. I think that's going to win the race.
Well, there's the early predictions, as we're just about ready to set this formation lap green. And in terms of strategy, these guys, of course, have a little look, see what those outside the top 10 have fitted, and all 3 of them, in fact, going onto the medium tyres, and that does give them a couple of opportunities, because the strategy around here is that it is quite common that we see the 2-stop being a lot more favourable than the 1-stop. It's very hard to make a 1-stop work around here. If you're going soft to hard, you're really having to eke out those soft tyres well beyond their competitive age, and the hard tyres themselves are not a great race tyre. It's very likely we'll see, in fact, all the top 10 potentially doing a soft, medium strategy, or if those who are particularly kind, maybe a soft, medium, soft perhaps, something along those lines. But these three outside the top 10, Mr. Steen, SD Mats and Hulkenberger, these guys going onto the medium tyre, so they've got a little bit of an open door with what they want to do. They can go medium, soft, or they have got that perhaps a bit more of an opportunistic chance of a one stop, or going onto the mediums and then going onto the hards for their second stint, which should be able to get them to the end, you'd imagine, quite comfortably, even if it isn't necessarily the fastest strategy. Of course, safety car, this is a straight safety car is a real option. This is a street circuit, of course not quite as demanding as the streets of Monte Carlo, but track penalties are still very key around here, and you don't want to be picking up these too early on, particularly if there is a late safety car. You're particularly screwed when it comes to trying to bridge a 6 or 9 second gap to the car behind you, because you've been a little bit exuberant over the curbs and got a little bit of a, I think that this might be Hultari playing a few little games on this formation lap, as we've got a little bit of a gap there in the pack. But 35 laps around this Canadian street circuit, the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, and of course Mashiro will be looking for a good strong start to keep behind the Mercedes of Monster Blue, who'll be looking to make amends after his dismal, frankly, results in Monte Carlo. It's a very short run down into turn 1, but it's still very possible for overtaking, even with Monster Blue on the outside. If you can hang it around the outside for turn 1, you will have the inside for turn 2. But we're just waiting now on 5 red lights. There is 4, there is 5. It's AlphaTauri versus Mercedes off the line. It looks like the Mercedes driver has got a very good launch as he storms into the lead. Mashiro has dropped down into P2. Roy Boy is going to go deep into turn 1 as he just about gets away with it without contact. Looks like Meg Lugby is going to hold on to P4. Or was that Nightshade, sorry, into P4. We've got the McLaren of Simply Superman and Hultari going wheel to wheel into 3 and 4. Hultari's got the job done, as now Simply Superman coming back underneath him. Monster Blue still leads the pack, as we've got a Ferrari, a beast that's going down the inside of Simply Superman. Looks like he's got the move done. He's going very aggressive. It's the championship leader. McLaren skips over the grass and let's go 3 wide down the back straight with Speed Queen, Fry Franklin and Simply Superman, as they've all somehow all avoided carnage, and I Franklin's made up a couple of positions. It looks like who's at the front? Monster Blue is still at the front, void by another lock up into the hairpin this time. Nightshades, he'll be very happy with P4s. Have we got a bit of chaos at the back?
Yeah, Simply Superman he used the overtake button out of chicane going into the hairpin and just couldn't stop in time, and just T-boned the side of I Franklin, absolutely T-boned him. He's let him back through though, so it is good there, good racing there from Simply Superman. He's used a lot of battery already. Speed coming in, yeah. Oh, that was very late, very late there. But yeah, definite wing damage from that one. He couldn't stop in time, and yeah, unfortunately, he's broken a wing.
Well, once again, this is a street second. We know how unforgiving these walls can be. Not just the wall of champions, the wall on the exit of turn 4 can be particularly demanding. There's a little outside wall as you come underneath the bridge after the first or the second DRS straight into turns 8 and 9. They can easily break a front wing end plate. I'm sure we've all done that before. And Simply Superman is the first man into the pits then. He's gone onto the medium tyres, so he's going to have to really eke out this stint if he wants to get himself back into the points. But looks like it's all steady Eddie so far. Monster Blue got a lightning start and he's gone into the lead as Roy Boy and Mashiro continue to press him down, and Mashiro in particular still staying inside this DRS zone, which is absolutely critical. DRS, you've got 3 DRS zones around this circuit, is greatly effective round here, and Monster Blue will have a real hard time if he cannot drop the AlphaTauri driver before the DRS is enabled. There is a predicted strategy. Soft, medium, but saying those guys will have to be very kind to their tyres if they're to make that happen, as Monster Blue sets the fastest lap of the race, as Mashiro only 4 tenths per second behind though is the AlphaTauri driver as he wrestles the car over turn 2. DRS will be enabled on this lap, a little bit of a squirm out of turn 2. Of course, we know, Scott, as well, one thing that I'm sure both drivers will have in their mind is that how effective the undercut is around here, because we know if you do it well you can gain easily about a second.
Absolutely, yeah. Mashiro's in the right place at the minute. He's already broken the DRS to Roy Boy, so he doesn't have to worry about anyone behind him now. He's just got to concentrate, save a bit of battery while to set behind Monster Blue, keep hold of the DRS and make Monster Blue, you know, sort of use a bit more battery, and then he can mount an attack. But Roy Boy already getting a 3-second time penalty with multiple warnings. Yeah, that's very, very early on. I can't talk because I'm the king of them, but that is very, very early on.
Yep, exactly what he doesn't want. Of course, he's had he's had 2 fourth positions back to back, and he'd be looking to try and bait that duck and get into the podium spots tonight. And he's doing a very good job of it so far, but he's broken out of that DRS zone, and it's now looking like it could be a breakaway top 2 if he doesn't get on with it. But Nightshade is doing super well to stay in that DRS of that racing point, and he's broken away from the second AlphaTauri of Pultari, and Beastas is sticking with him for good measure as well. Fast up at the race then for Nightshades. He's loving this circuit tonight, isn't he? He's up into P4 and he's shadowing that racing point as Mashiro is just 3/10 of a second behind the Mercedes of Monster Blue, and very quickly these soft tyres do go off. When you've done your flying laps on these soft tyres, you can quickly overheat them. You've got to look after those rear tyres in particular. High traction corners like this one in particular, we can so easily send the rear out and lose not just your rear, you can easily end up getting yourself into a spin. But here is the top 2 as we see Michelle wrestling the curbs as it then goes back onto the power. 6/10 of a second behind. He's going to have to try and go really deep into the brakes, into the hairpin, and really try and plant the throttle. You see the disc brakes glowing orange as they now try to rotate the car half a second back. But of course there's always a bit of a rubber band effect if you close up into the braking and pull away in the traction. But I'm sure he'll be perfectly happy just to sit in the DRS zone. Maybe just, you know, it's a 35 lap race. It does feel, well, maybe it's because it was raining last night, Scott, but it did feel like a very, very long race round here. Particularly, maybe it's because of the concentration you need when it's so easy to pick up penalties. It might just be that case as Nightshades and Roy Boy are going side by side. Roy Boy looks like he's had a little bit of a problem out that last chicane, and Nightshades, who's got the fastest lap of the race at the moment, has gone up into P3. So the Red Bull driver is on the charge, and he's moved up into a podium position, still yet to get a penalty as well, and he could well find himself trying to catch up to the back of the top 2 because he's really showing really good pace.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you know, if the top 2 start battling, you know, and once the Blue starts defending, it won't be long at all. I think until Nightshades catches up. You know, we know what it's like. You know, it takes a couple of corners for a hard defending from the car in front. You can really easily catch up. But I've just noticed Mashiro on this last couple of laps, he's been very deep into a couple of chicanes and he loses about a tenth or 2 to Monster Blue in sector 2. So he's just got to just keep it calm. He needs to try and get out of the hairpin about 4 tenths, 3.5, 4 tenths behind, and I think he can really mount an attack. But Monster Blue, he's doing his best now. He's doing what he knows he can do. He's staying calm. He's not cutting corners. He's just driving the car how he should do, nice and calmly, and he's not feeling the pressure just yet.
No, and will be very soon. In fact, it is now. We see the guys fall into the pit lane as Nightshades on lap 5. Might well even try and use this undercut to get himself into this little battle for the race lead. I'm sure Mashiro and Monster Blue were keeping an eye on that because they know they're not a breakaway top 2. They are not safe on the rest of the pack just yet, even though they've got a 2.6 second gap to Roy Boy behind. Nightshades was definitely advancing through this grid and was really enjoying that first stint and really building on a fantastic qualifying session was the Red Bull driver. Also look at Mr. Steen in P8. He's doing very comfortably inside the points on the medium tyres, and it looks like he's pushing some real pressure in fact on Speed Queen. So we're going to have a quick look at him in the Haas car. Speed Queen does not have DRS on I. Franklin in the Renault, so she could be a little bit vulnerable going down this back straight when it comes to it if she does not find a DRS. We'll also have a little look with our top 2 as Michelle looks to be a little bit closer. I don't think he'll be close enough to get a move done into the last couple of corners, but do they come into the pit? Do they cover off Nightshades? You can see him there, the bottom right hand corner of your screen, that little blue dot going into the hairpin now. He's got plenty of clear air to push, which is absolutely critical. Mashiro carries on, but Monster Blue has seen the Red Bull coming in for the early stop, does not want to give him full effect of the undercut and comes in for an early pit stop. Or you'd imagine he would come out just about ahead of the Red Bull driver, and it's a knock-on effect. We've got quite a few cars of Roy Boy coming into the pit lane as well. I. Franklin and McGluppy also coming into the pits as Roy Boy going on for another set of soft, so he could well be going soft medium, a very long stint on the mediums, or it could even be going onto the hard tyres, Scott, as looks like Nightshade is going to come out really close with Monster Blue, but Monster Blue just about carries on with a net lead. But it'll be interesting when Mashiro comes out, because you'd think he would come up behind these two, because Nightshades have clearly gained quite a bit of that undercut.
Absolutely, yeah. Unless Mashiro thinks he's got the pace, you know, he stayed on quite long at Monaco. If you remember, I know it was a bit different sort of conditions, but he's obviously quite good with his tyres, and he's already pulled out sort of 3 tenths, 4 tenths from Hitaru. So maybe he felt like he was just being held up and getting into the dirty air once the blue, and thinks he can really sort of keep pushing. So it'd be interesting, like you said, yeah, to see if he's setting it. You know, he's on a good lap at the minute. Is he going to come in? No, he stays out again. So he's really obviously enjoying these soft tyres that much. He's staying on. Yeah, he completed 7 laps, and that is a phenomenal amount of laps from these soft tyres. Because I found they were going off sort of after lap 4 or 5.
Yep, he's clearly looking after them. He's clearly trying a different ball game to the likes of Monster Blue and Nightshades, as we saw Beastas and Hotari, the championship leader, versus the man third place in the championship, going wheel to wheel down the back straight, and as a Ferrari driver who got the advantage on this occasion as Nightshades sets a new fastest lap of the race, and Mr. Steen picking up 3 second time penalty as well. Of course, there you can see exactly what Mashiro is doing, because he will have much better tyres when it comes into pit, because the mediums themselves do go off pretty quickly. They're not a very durable tyre around here. This track does kind of eat tyres, but Monster Blue and Nightshades have got so much clear air. They've got 3 seconds until they catch up to the back of that McLaren. But of course, the one problem they have got, Scott, is when they do catch up to traffic, they've got SD Mats, Hulkenberg and Mr. Steen all on medium tyres, who will be going, you would imagine, to at least lap 15 on these medium tyres. So you'd imagine they'll be catching very quickly to this little toggle of 3 cars, and they will have to overtake him on track to avoid losing too much time, as Mashiro still stays out.
Absolutely, yeah. I have noticed though that Nightshade has got 0 battery left, so he's obviously been pushing really hard, but he has caught up to the back of Monster Blue, so they are now only 4 tenths separating them. I have noticed between Monster Blue with Mashiro and Nightshade as well, Monster Blue gets a very good run coming out of the hairpin, and he sort of gains, you know, a tenth and a half out of there on them guys. So that's exactly what you need if you're under pressure with the DRS and you don't have it. That's exactly what you need, and he's proving that every single lap. So be interesting to see if someone can sort of clock that and try and get a better run and maybe do the cutback on him going down the straight. But Nightshades is really putting Monster Blue under some pressure now. I think it's you know, this will fall into Mashiro's hands really. If they start battling, you know, it could all be, you know, over for them two in that way. But SD Mats looks like he's having a bit of a problem, because they've caught up right to the back of him now as they come up into the hairpin. I don't know whether or not SD Mats' tyres have gone off or something's happened to him, but he's locking up there. He's on the medium, so they should go, you know, a little bit further than this. This time Monster Blue will have DRS, and it looks like it's going to be an easy overtake from Monster Blue as well. So he comes past SD Mats, but Nightshade is actually going to maybe get caught up behind him, I think. So they come up into the chicane. He picks up a 3 second time penalty through the chicane as well. He gets a great run on him though to come up into across the line. He's overtaken SD Mats now. Can Nightshades cling on to the back of Monster Blue, or is Monster Blue going to start pushing forward?
And Speed Queen also comes into the pit lane very late as well. She pitted on the end of lap 9. The top 3 all sticking out though would be as SD Mats picks up a 3 second time penalty. McLaren driver in that turbulent air of that Red Bull. There's this critical phase of the race now for the likes of Monster Blue and Nightshades for their race win and podium aspirations. They're in this little toggle of cars on the medium tyres. They will be going a much longer than this yet, so they have got to pick their way through, but they've got so much better grip. You can see the difference in grip just through that one corner, visibly quicker for the Mercedes drivers that come up into turns 10, and it should be an easy move, you would imagine, for Monster Blue. But Hulkenberger should be just outside DRS for Mr. Steen. Does Mashiro? That's another lap, so he's clearly looking after these tyres, and you'd imagine he's now looking potentially right at a 1 stop. So we've got a couple of different strategies going on here between potentially what could be the top 5 as Monster Blue moves up into 5th position as Roy Boy picks up another 3 second time penalty. Of course, we can't discount him. He's on a soft tyre, so he's on a very aggressive strategies. Like, is that rain going down, Scott? Is this why they're going so much longer? It looks like it's raining.
That is indeed. That is spots of rain. I thought I was seeing things to say. I just put on Bob with Nightshades and I thought, that's raining. That's exactly what we thought, and it is. So Mashiro, Beastas and Hitaru, maybe they have done the right thing here. We don't know how much rain's going to come down. We're not too sure what's going on, but Now we've got some interesting races. Monster Blue up the inside of Mr. Steen now as they come down under the bridge into the chicane. Easy move for him. But this is now going to be very interesting. Oh, Mr. Steen sideways there out of the chicane, nearly lost it. Well held. He's obviously had some tips from Roy Boy over the week break we've had, because that was a good slide.
Yeah, in fact, just riding on board Nightshades, you can see how heavily this rain is coming down, which is an absolute blessing to these guys who are still yet to pit. It's Nightshades losing it massively, and it's Mr. Steen losing it just as well. You can see how much time Nightshades has lost trying to get past this Williams of Hulkenberg, who's got past the Haas of Mr. Steen and moves up into P6, but he's right on the back of Monster Blue as he comes into the pit lane. Everyone's coming into the pit lane as Hulkenberg speeds, Nightshade speeds 5 seconds for the pair of them, and it has worked out perfectly for the likes of Beastas, Hotari in particular. Mashiro, we would imagine, will inherit the lead once Beastas comes into the pits. He's done an extra lap from all of that. Hotari might have had a slow stop, but he might well still be a net P2. Monster Blue hasn't lost too much, but because he was our net leader, and he's going to come out quite a good few seconds, about 7 or 8 seconds behind. Oh, as he gets super close to the back of Hutari. It's a bold call from Beastas not to pit. He's the only guy on the dry tyres at the moment. Have a little ride on board, ride on board with the Ferrari driver, and get a little bit of dry traction under the tunnel, so he goes straight on into turn 7 and 8. You can see how much he's wrestling that Ferrari. The championship leader has made a gamble on lap 11 to stay out, and it's not looking like it's paid off. The track is, I mean, this is unbelievable, Scott. I mean, it's only a game, but I mean, how quick has this track got absolutely soaking? 2 laps ago we saw our first spits of rain. Already it is piling it down. I mean, it could even be a question of, will it be full wet before the end, because this rain has transitioned so quickly. And Beastas, after what he could have had, effectively a pit stop less than a lot of these guys, has lost a lot of that advantage by staying out an extra lap.
Absolutely, he's just lost 6.5 seconds on that lap from Mashiro. He was 10.5 seconds in front, so it really hasn't worked out too good for him, because he's now going to lose first, second, third, fourth, maybe even fifth, and it's going to be close on the pit exit. But yeah, no, it hasn't quite gone to plan for him, but he might come out just in this battle for 4th. Is he going to come out with Nightshade? Yeah, he comes out with, oh, that was close. Comes out just in front of Nightshade, so he hasn't really gained a lot out of it. The person who's really gained out of all of this is Hulkenberger. He's made up 9 places from the starting grid. He stayed out, he's gone on to the medium because it was the right call obviously at the start, and it's proved dividends because he is now into P4. And he's now got the championship leader behind him. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1. It looks like Mr. Steen's had an off, and we've got a wing on the side of the road as well. So he's retired from the session. So he is out. He is out of this race.
Oh, it's a real shame for Haas, as you were saying. And it's the guys who started outside the top 10. It was SD Mats, it was Mr. Steen, and it was Hulkenberger. These guys starting on the medium tyres. And of course we did have the knowledge of later rain being expected, but of course you can see now what gave them the idea, the inspired idea to start on those medium tyres. They were clearly hoping to go as long into the race as they could before it started raining, to go onto intermediate tyres. Monster Blue picks up 3-second time penalty because he's already got 5 seconds to be added on as it is, but that's not a great start to this part of wet phase of the race. And Hulkenberger is up into P4, but he's now battling with Beast. Has to go side by side into turn 1 and 2. Nightshades is looking up the inside of the Ferrari as well. It's almost going to be 3 wide into turn 3. Beastas looking like he's going to try and get this job done. Hulkenberger just swiggles up down into P5. The Ferrari driver's got the job done. Nightshades is looking all over the back as it looks like Hulkenberger's just tagged the wall, and Nightshades is very calmly going around the outside is the Red Bull driver and moves up into P5. Hulkenberger just struggling a little bit in these wetter conditions. He's gained plenty of positions, as has SD Mats. Roy Boy has dropped all the way down into P8, and of course he's got I think at least 6 seconds worth of time penalties as the racing point driver, so it's not worked out too well for him, but we saw how well he did in the rain and Monte Carlo. I'm sure he can bring something back just yet. Simply Superman as well, we know, is a driver with a lot of pace about him. He's got a lot of work to do. It's him and Speed Queen are well down the order now. As you can see on the minimum out there, they're about 10 seconds adrift of any points this evening. Still plenty of racing to do in this one. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a spread out field now. But the one man who could be on for positional overtakers. It's an AlphaTauri 1-2. We know Monster Blue's got a couple of time penalties to his name, but he is the one putting Hotari under a lot of pressure right now as Hulkenberg's coming to the pits. I think has he damaged his front wing or something?
I think he just clipped the wall coming out of turn 3 and 4. I think he might have just knocked an end plate off maybe, but I have noticed that Hutari and Monster Blue took a tenth and a half, 2 tenths out of Mashiro on that last lap. So it looks like they've got enough pace in this wet weather, but they don't really want to now be battling with each other. I know obviously championships on the line, but if they know they've got the pace and they can see they've got the pace, they want to really be pushing, because Mashiro 8 seconds up the road. It's another absolutely exceptional drive so far. Yeah, from Mashiro. So I think we're going to be through it on Speed Queen. That's not very often we see Speed Queen pop up with a 3-second time penalty. But it's a shame. This is where it's going to get interesting now. We're going to get any safety cars as to whether they're going to dry out again. Is it going to get wet again? You know, this is where it starts to get really, really interesting.
Yep, and Monster Blue going really nicely out of that hairpin, half a second behind, but of course no DRS to assist him on this overtake, so he's going to have to do it the old manual way. But it still currently leads the championship leader, Beastas, who is in P4, but of course bearing in mind he will have 5 seconds added to his race time on top of any penalties that he endures through this race, through track extensions as well, just like Simply Superman and Speed Queen having a good old battle at the hairpin as Speed Queen trying to hold on to this position. This is now for the last point after Hulkenberg's pit stop. Speed Queen looking like she's got a little bit more straight line speed in that Alfa Romeo. McLaren looking down the inside, thinks better of it, and of course these two might well be for lowly 10th and 11th, but these two keep putting on a good show as they run aboard on the Alfa Romeo rear wing. As it looks like Speed Queen's fended off the McLaren's attack for this lap, but they're coming down slightly. It was about 9 seconds to Franklin's, gone down to about 8.5, and McLaughlin into 8th place as well. So a little bit of a change in fortunes here. Be hoping for the Red Bull drivers who coming up close to the halfway stint of this race, and of course you see McLaren almost sliding a little bit through that last complex as turn 5 has come into the second sector of 6 and 7. But coming up to the halfway point of the race, Scott, and of course we obviously had a wet race in the exact same conditions, in fact, on the intermediate tyres on Monday night, and I don't know, we all pretty much struggled to do more than, say, I think it was more 17-18 laps. The tyres really wore quite drastically. I know you in particular struggled with wear on the intermediate tyres. These guys, if they want to go to the ends without pitting, are going to have to do about 22 laps. It's going to be a real loss, because now these guys got to really make a decision. Do you sort of pit after, say, 11 laps into this stint and give yourself, you know, you're going to have to do an extra pit stop, but you're going to have fresh intermediates, or you know, throughout the end of the race, or do you look after them and try and go to the end without pitting again? It's going to be a bit of a nail biter, this one, in terms of strategy, particularly for the Mashiro, who's of course leading the field.
Yeah, I think I struggled. I pitted laps, I think it was 15 or 16 last night, and by the end of the race on the last lap I had 96% on my tyres, so it's difficult. Yeah, I do wear mine a lot. I must say that I've been on board now with Beastas. He has taken just 1.3 seconds off of Hutari and Monster Blue, and he lapped 8.5 tenths quicker than Mashiro on the last lap. So we might have a race on in a minute for second position, because he was 3.1 seconds across the line behind Monster Blue, and he's now 2 seconds. So it looks like the championship leader is suited better at the minute to the wet weather conditions, as Hutari now picks up a 3-second time penalty. So at the minute, Beastas is actually in second position. Yep,
it's all falling into play for the championship leader right now. He knows he's going to lose points, most presumably, to Mashiro. Still plenty of racing to do, but the two cars in front of him all squabbling for positions. He's beginning to close in that door, and of course with penalties now being applied to Otari as well, he knows if he can keep it clean, he could well be picking up more than he bargained for at the start of this race. After initially struggling in the dry conditions, he's enjoying this wet phase much more, as SD Matt's also putting a bit of pressure on Roy Boy, it's looking like, or I think Roy Boy in fact might have actually got past SD Matt for 6th position. Nightshade's sort of dropped into a little phase of his own in 5th position. in the Red Bull. So it's going pretty nicely for the two Red Bull guys, 5th and 8th, which would be their best team result of the season. Moscow goes super deep into the hairpin. See how much Beastas really is pulling on these guys. It was about 2 seconds not too long ago. It's now 1.2. So he's really gaining, and Monster Blue just doesn't seem to have the straight line speed to really threaten Hutari. This is a track which is particularly kind to ERS and battery, so Hutari is probably able to use a whole mountain of ERS to defend down that back straight, and even a little bit out of the last corner if he feels he needs it. So it's going to have to be tactical here, Monster Blue. He's going to have to really pit Hutari under pressure. He's going to have to force him into a mistake, because as we saw Monday night, it's really not easy to make an actual legitimate overtake with no DRS around here.
No, it's not. It's a very difficult track to overtake. Poor Scopefield have found that out last night, sat behind you for half the race. But no, it is a very difficult race. But I'm just looking again. Beastas, took just over half a second off of Mashiro on that last lap. So if Beastas can clear these two in front of him, Hutari and Monster Blue, we may not, but we may, if it stays wet for the rest of the race, see Beastas really push. Again, I think they may have to pit. I think it'll be quite interesting to see if Beastas can actually gain quite a few positions out of tonight's race.
He could well do. I mean, how quickly has he caught up with this pair? And I'm sure Hutari, absolutely thrilled with his position of P2. He's more than happy to bring home an AlphaTauri 1-2. I mean, the constructors is almost well and truly gone as it is, but a 1-2 for AlphaTauri would really cement what would be a demanding championship lead in the constructors, and with what everyone would have 5 rounds to catch them after this. It'd be an absolute mammoth task for any constructor to really sort of match the points tally these two are gathering each race as a team. They are absolutely blinding as a partnership, and in fact they've had the highest points tally of every constructor in every single round except China. They really have been absolutely incredibly consistent, the pair of them, and it's looking very good for them this evening as well. And of course a constructors trophy will be sent to them as well, should they manage to take home the constructors championship. But it's still got a little bit of fighting yet to do, as Mashiro has extended his gap just to about 8.3 seconds down, so it just looks like he's got a tenth and a half over his teammate as Hulkenberger comes into the pit lane and retires his Williams from the session. So only 11 runners left, as that Speedqueen has shaken off the challenge of Simply Superman for that last position. Of course, you have got a point for fastest lap as well, but that'll of course go to whoever set that fastest lap during the dry phase of this race, because of course they're not going to have any chance of matching a lap time like it now. But we'll have to keep an eye on Simply Superman. It might have been a mistake there from Speedqueen. Simply Superman has got back in within a second of Speedqueen, as Franklin going to have to be careful. He's picked up a 3-second time penalty. Speedqueen only 4.6 seconds behind him. So there is still opportunities for Speedqueen and Simply Superman to move forward if they allow, or if Franklin allows himself to make any more mistakes. But the real battle looks like, with 15 laps to go, Scott, is going to be for second place.
Absolutely, and going back to the constructors table, I think I might have to ask the AlphaTauri guys for a little bit of advice on how to be consistent. But no, it looks like Beastas he's hit that sort of brick wall now, where it starts to get difficult when you get close to cars. The spray turns up. You can't see a lot. He's just sort of staying around the 6th, 7th, 10th mark at the minute. And as you well know, obviously having to defend for half the race last night, it's so easy to make a mistake. But if you just drive at a consistent sort of pace and you get comfortable like Hutari is, it might stay like this for the rest of the race if it stays like that. So just Monster Blue and Beastas have now got to start really trying to pressure Hutari into a mistake, and showing their nose and getting them arrows on the screen to sort of go sort of red and look like they're going for a move. But yeah, it's a bit of a stalemate at the minute for the rest of the field. They're all sort of spread out, well, really spread out, to be honest with you. So after fourth position, it's a bit of a lonely Sunday drive race for the rest of the guys.
Yeah, one guy to maybe keep an eye out for is Roy Boy in his pursuit of Nightshade. He's got 1 lap better tyres than the Red Bull driver, and of course we know how well he did in the wet of Monaco, but it looks like he's lost a little bit of time on that previous lap, so maybe just sort of a mistake from the Racing Point drivers. Beastas now has fallen 1.1 seconds back, maybe even just trying to save a bit of battery perhaps, or fuel. Saving fuel shouldn't be too much of a problem for these guys in these wet conditions, but no, you're absolutely right. In these wet conditions, when you know it's hard to overtake with no DRS, as I found myself last night on scope out of about 4 or 5 drivers massively quicker than myself. But you know, if you are able to just get good, decent traction, as we're right on board with the rear wing of Holtari, and it's looking like he's able to do that. If you can just get good traction out the hairpin, you really don't have to push all that hard at all, because it's just so difficult to overtake, as Monster Blue's got as close as he has done. But we'll see how he does coming out of the hairpin. He's about 3.5 tenths behind. If he's got any battery, Monster Blue, he's going to have to use it, because this is the closest he's got for a number of laps. As Beastas not sure he picked up wing damage now, 1.6 seconds back. But we'll see how Monster Blue does out of this chicane. And it's about 3 tenths, but it's going to be such a short straight. This home straight come across the line, start lap 23. He's not quite close enough, so you can see how close he got into turn 1 as well, into the hairpin. But if you can't plant the throttle down, it's so hard. Of course, these guys, I'm sure, will be using, some of these guys will be using wet setups as well, which is even more downforce. There's looks like SD Max making a pit stop, which is a bit of a surprise. He must have had some damage as the McLaren driver. It looks like I can't see a front wing change, so it might just be a strategic one. As we were saying, Scott, these tyres will struggle to go to the end, and if you are going to pit again or set of intermediates, it is better to do it midway through your stint rather than having to do it right at the end. So this might turn out to be an inspired decision. He goes a little bit deep on the pit lane exit. It's going to come out right behind I Franklin's. So he's lost himself a couple of positions there, but he's gambling on the fact that these intermediate tyres that everyone else is on aren't going to make it to the end.
Well, if there's a safety car or anything like that, he's in prime position. You know, he'll be on fresh tyres. But I did notice that I thought maybe Michio had knocked an end plate off or something, because the gap actually went down to 7.3, 7.4 seconds on this lap. But he's managed to sort of pull that back again. So I'm not too sure if he just made a slight mistake in sector 1 or coming out the final chicane or something on the last lap. But it looks like he's picked up the pace again and gone back to sort of around about the 8-second mark. But as you can see, you know, Monster Blue is there. You can see that he's getting. This is where it starts to get really frustrating. You know, I was like it last night. I think me, you, Scope, you know, and Sam Bam sort of stayed in the same position, following each other for a good sort of 10 to 15 laps, and it's so difficult. You know, once you start, like I said, once you start to get close, it's so difficult to really, you know, make that move, because if you're going to do it, you've got to be so committed to do it as well. I don't know if you can see on your screen, but it looks like maybe some of the corners they're going around, the sky looks like it's getting very light. So I don't know whether or not it might dry out towards the end, and it might be some late gambles on slick tyres or something like that. But yeah, at the minute, like I said, it's a bit of a stalemate. You know, Monster Blue's not really showing the nose. He's just sort of sitting calmly and, you know, driving his own race. And we notice he's got 8 seconds off of penalties now. Beast has just dropped back a little bit. I think he's just had enough of the spray and probably got a wet face from all of that, to be honest with you. So he's just sort of, like I said, you know, come back, and maybe he had 2 warnings, you know, and he's just backed off a little bit just to make sure that he doesn't get any penalties, as he knows that, you know, Monster Blue's probably got 8 seconds.
Yeah, and one thing this pit stop for SD Max has done is it's brought Franklin's back into the clutches of Speed Queen and Simply Superman. We saw Speed Queen get another time penalty. Simply Superman has had enough of that Alfa Romeo in his sights. It goes down the inside of turn 10 into the hairpin, and going to be side by side coming down the back straight. So once again, Speed Queen getting really nice traction as they come up what would be the DRS line. They're still side by side. So who's got the slippier car in a straight line as they come into the final chicane? And McLaren's got the inside line and should have the move done. You'd imagine. What can Speed Queen do to fend it off? McLaren's got through on this occasion. Has Speed Queen got anything to try and gun back on McLaren? No, she hasn't. So Simply Superman moves up into P10 and is unleashed from the trap, which was the Alfa Romeo rear wing. And what can he do to really put on the pressure on I Franklin in the Renault for P9? And we'll see what these guys, but only 2 drivers still pit. Everyone else looking like they're going to try and squeeze it to the end. And we'll have to see, keep an eye on SD Max's pace. He's 4.3 seconds behind Megluppy. Looks like he's going to the end in 7th. Roy Boy is 18 seconds behind Nightshades. And Nightshades looks like he could well be going to the end. You can see it looks like he's losing quite a bit of time. So he's going to have to make sure that was the right decision. He had about a 4 second margin to Roy Boy, so if he was going to cover it off, you'd imagine he should have time to, but he needs to react quickly as Monster Blue and his natural habitat of that AlphaTauri rear wing stalking it from about a half a second distance as Atari getting the rear end out massively into turn 2. And see, has it stopped raining?
That's what I thought. It has.
So who knows? It could well find ourselves back onto the dry tyres as Meg Lubby comes into the pit lane. Surely this isn't for a set of dry tyres, is it?
He's brave. He's brave.
Yeah, he's got another set of intermediates out. I was going to say he's serving a 5-second time penalty, which I think might be for speeding into the pit lane. But another car of I Franklin coming in as well. He's gone on to medium tyres. So there's a bizarre incident here. We've got 2 cars into the pit lane, one for a set of intermediate tyres and one for a set of mediums. So I think that's a strange time, isn't it, to pit for Megalubby when it has literally just stopped raining to pit for another set of intermediates. I mean, he must have clearly, his trusty engineer Jeff hasn't been all that useful to him, because he's clearly not noticed it stopped raining, and well, it could be on very, very shortly. But of course, this does open the door to the likes of Monster Blue and Beastas, who have been stuck behind Atari for what, a good 12 odd laps now, looking like they're going nowhere on these intermediate tyres. But it does give another variable for them to try and get past, because Monster Blue's clearly got more speed than Atari, but he can't get the job done. But now it's drawing up. He has got perhaps a second roll of the dice to try and get his job done, as Beastas looks like he's closed up again after initially dropping a little bit further back. Oh, I Franklin's in the wall.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, that's
a bit too early.
Yeah, just a bit too early for I Franklin. I think maybe another lap, maybe 2. I want to know if anyone's going to be brave enough to stick it on soft, so he probably would do, to be fair, you know, with 8 laps to go, 8.5 laps to go. Yeah, absolutely, and there we have it, Speed Queen's in the pits. What tyres is Speed Queen going to go on to?
Set of softs.
It looks like to me a set of softs, absolutely. She's good with her tyres as well, so if there is a safety car or anything like that, it could play into her hands as well. But back to the second, third and fourth place battle, looks like to me that Monster Blue is very, very close. It looks like he's going to use as much battery as he can as he comes up. Hitari's defending. Monster Blue goes to the outside as they come into the last chicane. Hitari brakes very, very late. There's just a little left tap coming through the chicane there. And now we're coming over the line. Hitari, he's just a little bit more of a slippery car, I think, down the straight when the battery's not being used. But Monster Blue now, I think, just showing Hitari, I'm getting fed up now. I've read you. I know what your diffuser looks like. I want to get past. Yeah,
just keeping a gap between Speed Queen and Simply Superman, and that Delta's coming down all of a sudden very, very rapidly between that Alfa Romeo and that McLaren, and it's looking like it could be at the changeover point now as it's coming down the back straight. I noticed quite a lot of spray, but that spray, as it quite often does on the F1 game, there seems to be a lot, and then very quickly to almost nothing. Because it's almost a bare drawing track now, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a lot of drivers in at the end of this lap. In fact, Speed Queen is taking about 4 seconds out of Simply Superman and on his last few laps. He's going down, like, honestly, I'm not sure Simply Superman had a problem, is he? Maybe, as he might have even had a spin. He's coming into the pit lane now, but Speed Queen was gaining all sorts of time on the McLaren driver. We'll have to go and see what does Mashiro do. Of course, he's the one who's going to have to take the gamble. He's got 8 seconds clear to make this decision, but no, he's going to stand by. He's going to put all his eggs in one basket. He's going to go onto what you'd imagine would be the soft tyres. Does his teammate follow him in? 8 seconds. It's going to be tight, isn't it? Is he going to have a bit of a delayed pit stop? You'd think it should be enough. But of course they do take a little bit of time as DRS is enabled, so this is definitely the changeover point. But is he going to have a slow stop? They look like they've adjusted themselves well. Oh, it looks a little bit so he might have lost a little bit of time. Does this give Monster Blue the chance? Got onto medium tyres. But he's, oh no, Monster Blue's had to serve it looks like a 5-second time penalty or something, because Beastas has no, he hasn't jumped him. He's had to get onto the brakes, and it's interesting now because we've got Monster Blue on a set of soft, Mashiro on a set of softs. Beastas and Hotari have gone onto a set of medium tyres, so they, for whatever reason, didn't fancy the soft tyres. And of course, as Monster Blue goes a little bit deep on the pit lane exit, so he's going to have to get a job done now. Monster Blue must have served a 5-second penalty for you'd imagine to be speeding in the pit lane at some point earlier in the race, but he's now got 4.4 seconds to make up in about 6 or 7 laps. Can he do it?
I'm not too sure, if I'm being honest with you. Um, no, I don't think he will. Well, even if he does, he's got 8 seconds to lose. So, you know, he needs to obviously push now because, you know, Nightshades is only, what, 11.6 behind you. We only need a little mistake or a bit of battling from Beastars and Monster Blue, and Monster Blue could drop down another position. So, it's going to get interesting now, but I think we might spread out a bit now because I think Monster Blue will obviously pull away from Beastars, I should think. Do I think he's going to catch Hutari? I'm going to say I don't think he's got enough time.
I don't know. I think I'm going to be optimistic. I think he's got a chance. I think he's going to have to really, really push like hell. But I mean, Hutari wasn't all that competitive in the dry. Monster Blue and Mashiro were definitely the two guys on the dry tyres who had the much better pace. But as you say, he might get it up to him. He might get on there on track. Of course, he's got to get within a second to have DRS as our Franklin picks up another 3-second time penalty. So it's going to be close between him and McLugby for that final point. But as you say, in reality, I don't think he'll get a position because he's going to have 5 seconds added on regardless to his time. But I think we could be on for at least a little bit more squabbling between the pair yet. Also, Roy Boy is 1.8 seconds behind Nightshade. So in all this kerfuffle of going intermediates and then back onto the slick tyres, he has closed in that gap somewhat. It was about 4.4 seconds about 8 or 9 laps ago. So he has gained through this strategic calls of the last 10 laps or so. As the gap comes down to about 2.2 as McLubby now picks up a 3-second time penalty. So it's going to be nip and tap for that last point. It's going to be who's accumulated more throughout the course of this race. As Monster is probably taking about 3-4 attempts out of Hutari on this lap. 10 seconds is the gap between the two AlphaTauri drivers. Mashiro has once again absolutely driven a superb race, and you know, it was hard to give him. I don't even want to jinx it now. It's hard to give him driver of the day in Monaco because Roy Boy is such a standout figure, wasn't he, in the rain, because he was so entertaining. But I mean, Mashiro, if he can carry on this pace, I don't know what he's done differently or what he's found in the last 2 races, but he has found another level. He's not found a level to just match the likes of Monster Blue, his teammate at Beastars. He's actually surpassed them, hasn't he, in the last couple of races. It must be street circuits or something, because he has found a real key that so far Beastars, Monster Blue and Hutari haven't been able to find.
Absolutely, yeah, he's driven a fantastic, you know, last couple of races. Yeah, and it's now probably got into the heads of Monster Blue and Hutari and Beastars that Mashiro has not given up on this, and he wants this championship, and you can see that fastest lap as well. So he's going to be getting the maximum amount of points out of this one, I think. But for me, I think Beastars just got a 3-second time penalty, and Monster Blue picks up another one. Yep. So that, I think, is now 6 seconds plus the 8. So I think that's a 14-second penalty he's got so far.
Well, I think Nightshades has also picked up at least one, but I mean, Nightshades is what, looking 12, 14, 15 seconds behind Monster Blue, but I mean, you know, he can't afford to keep on picking any more. I mean, he should be alright to hold off Nightshades for today, and but it looks like those soft tyres, I think, might already begin to fade off for Monster Blue. You'd imagine there's a used set, a scrub set from qualifying. He's still gaining a little bit on Hutari, but it's not dropping Monster Blue at all, and we know how much it's not dropping Beastars at all. We know how much Beastars did struggle in qualifying in the dry, and it wasn't looking all that competitive in the first half of the race when it was dry. Superman now picks up another 3-second time penalty. It's hard to count, well, it's impossible to count up all these time penalties. It's going to have to be a case of who crosses the line, and the adjustments are made once we hit the checkered flag. As Mashiro starts his 33rd lap, only 3 from home is the Japanese driver, and is currently sat on fastest lap of as well, so it could be on for absolute maximum points. And us too, our AlphaTauri is now Beastars fastest lap of the race at 10.2, so he wants to get his nearest championship rival done and dusted on track. He's really coming at that Mercedes man, and you can see it looks like he's just struggling a little bit on those soft tyres, which is, it looks like, I mean, I don't know about you, Scott, but I originally thought these guys who have gone onto the soft tyres, it might have been a good call. I think it might have been a better call, but actually, it's turning out as we're going to the last 3 laps, Beastars on the medium tyres is looking far more competitive.
He's flying. He's absolutely flying. I was just about to say, you know, Monster Blue's going to stand no chance, you know, down the back straight if he has an well. depends on how much traction he can get. If he can get decent traction like he has been doing for the majority of the race, he might be able to stand it off. But it looks like to me that if Beastas can get a decent enough run, see that traction there, that is where Monster Blue is good. He gets really good traction and he gets over half a second, and that gives him just enough breathing space to go into the last corner. But yeah, this is going to be interesting now. They are still slightly catching. Oh, what a run through there from Beastas now. Is he going to go for the move? Monster Blue goes defensive. We're going to see an old Charlie Harris and Harry Banks move into turn 1 from last season. But no, he's done it and he's kept it. But a good move there from Beastas. That's up to 3rd position. Monster Blue really doesn't want to start falling back too many positions now, or too many seconds, should I say? Because as we said, I think Night Shades might have picked up 1, maybe 2, 14 seconds from Monster Blue. You know, he's going to definitely fall behind Night Shades. It's going to be quite interesting now to see what we've got when we come across the line.
Yeah, but what does Monster Blue do? He's in 3 attempts, so still got a little bit of time left in those tyres. Speedqueen picks up another 3 seconds. I think it's at least 9 seconds for Speedqueen. It's a very rare sight, but that just shows how strict the the track extension warnings are around here. And it's really catching out even the most experienced of drivers. She's another 5.6 seconds back from SD Mats, who has played an absolute blinder in terms of starting on those medium tyres. It's Meg Luppy and I Franklin are in a sort of battle, gaining more and more points, more and more time penalties, sorry, as they fight for the last championship point. As Mashiro is now on its last lap, and Beastas is going to have to try and defend for Monster Blue for 1 more lap. It'll get the job done on time penalties regardless, so it doesn't have to bet his life on this. And is just about within a second of Hultari. I'm not sure how they stack up in terms of time penalties. I think they might have 1 each. Beastas might have 2 even. There's a little bit of a squirm out on the exit at turn 4 as it comes down to the right at 5 into the left of 6. And so he's got a gap down to about 9 tenths, so the DRS might just be enough, or might just help him to defend from Monster Blue. But it looks like Monster Blue's right out of tyres on this last lap, and it should well be safe, should the Ferrari driver, and it should be on for another podium. It would be his 5th podium of the season, his first 3rd place after picking up 2 wins and 2 second places. And of course we're still not done yet. We'll see how he's done in terms of penalties when it comes to stacking up against Hutari's. Roybar picks up a 3-second time penalty on the last lap, but here comes your race winner. Back-to-back wins for the Japanese driver Mashiro. Fantastic drive from him from pole position, and he wins round 7 at Canada. Hutari looks like going to come across the line. Does time penalties change in AlphaTauri 1-2? It does. Yeah. Beastas goes up into P2. Monster Blue is going to stay in 4th place. So Beastas maintains his championship lead, and Nightshade's going to cross the line. An excellent P5 for the Red Bull team, and he's held off Roy Boy, and Roy Boy's got quite a few penalties to take as he falls 10 seconds back from the Red Bull driver. So a good drive from the Red Bull of Nightshades. A very solid P5 for him. I'm sure Roy Boy will be a little bit disappointed, just didn't quite go his way in the race after such a superb qualifying lap. As SD Mats, I'm sure will be absolutely thrilled with P7, as who's saying starting on those medium tyres really helped, and be hoping that time penalties don't drop him back to P8. I know Speedqueen's got at least 9 seconds, so we'll see if it does. It doesn't, and so that's P8 for Speedqueen. I Franklin and McGlubby have already finished the lap down, and Sim Superman weaving left to right, he'd taken 9th place. It's a bit of an up and down race, it's fair to say, but he scored points, and in a difficult street circuit track, a track that's gone from dry to wet back to dry, he's got himself a couple of points for this evening. Driver of the day has gone to Beastas. I think Mashiro perhaps will be feeling a little bit robbed of that accolade, I'm sure, but nevertheless he's got maximum points again. He's got the full 15. Beastas will go with the fastest lap, I believe, so he'll pick up 13 points, so he will extend his championship lead over the likes of Monster Blue and Hotari. And Mashiro could well find himself jumping up to Beastas' nearest challenger, but he lifts the trophy that he's worked so hard to win, and back-to-back wins for the Japanese driver, and a double podium again for AlphaTauri, and they really have got a firm grip on that Constructors' Trophy. But a massive well done to Mashiro, and we'll try our best to try and get in the top 3 for some podium talks as well as get their thoughts after a very challenging race, but we'll see how that goes. But a massive well done to Mashiro. Kept it clean as well. Not a single, the only driver to not get a penalty on the grid as well. I mean, if that doesn't show dominance, then I'm not sure what does. But Beastas gets fastest lap and P2. Hotari P3. Monster Blue, even with his 5 seconds added on, will finish P4. Breakaway top 4 really. And Nightshades P5. Held off Boy. He was finishing in P6. Further down the road was SD Mats for P7. He'd be very pleased with that. Speed Queen recovers to P8 after a difficult race. Simply Superman finishes P9. Iron Frankland gets the last points. Meg Glubby, be disappointed, did so well for so long and picks up 21 seconds worth of penalties, which is a disqualification sadly for Meg Glubby. And we lost Hulkenberger in the Williams and Mr. Steen through DNF. But a fantastic race, and of course if you want to see more on Invictus, of course we are live on Twitch from 9 o'clock. That's F2 on the Xbox League, which you can find at twitch.tv/Invictus Racing League. On Wednesday nights we have live on YouTube 8 PM F3 and F4 League, brought to you by Ryan and Jakob, and Jake brings you F4 Realistic Performance League on Thursday. That's Malc and Tim live on YouTube. And of course round 8, which will be starting in Spa, is starting with the Xbox F1 League on Twitch, with that is Sunday night 9 PM start time. And of course we'll start all over again as well on PS4 leagues with Monday night F1 League, brought to you by Gareth and Sab for round 8 as well. And of course myself and Scott will be bringing you next Tuesday live on YouTube 8 PM the F2 League round 8 as well. And of course you can find us on all the socials in the meantime at Invictus Racing League for Instagram, at Invictus RL for Twitter. You can find us on Facebook for photo albums, interviews and news with all your favourite drivers. Subscribe if you haven't already, and give a thumbs up if you enjoyed. It really helps us out. And we'll see if we can get the top 3 in. These guys don't quite often fold in for interviews, but we'll try and have a little word with them if we can, because they've all driven a fantastic race. And you know, it came up with driver of the day, Beastas. Mashiro dominated. Who was your, I feel like Mashiro does sort of deserve driver of the day, but was there anyone else who really caught the eye tonight, Scott, for you?
I'd probably say Beastas or Mashiro. You know, Beastas drove well. He kept his head. You know, and really went through. You know, overtook where he could, and gained the positions that he did. So I'd say Beastas with the way he drove, but obviously he was untouchable today. Yeah,
absolutely. And of course it was a real champion's drive really, from or a champion elect maybe potential for Beastas. He knew he wasn't in a great position and didn't quite have the qualifying he would have liked, but even so he recovered brilliantly to finish in second place, and he's only lost out by a couple of points to Mashiro, so I'm sure we'll be very pleased with that. And he's gained points on the likes of Hutari, Monster Blue, and so I'm sure he'll be very, very pleased with his night's work. And of course that's his 5th podium of the season, and it's also a 5th podium of the season for Hutari, and it's a 4th podium of the season for Mashiro, who got his 2nd win of the season tonight. Back-to-back wins, and of course we head into Spa-Francorchamps as well, which will be a real driver's track. And of course, what's your thoughts on the circuit, Scott? I know you like this one a lot. It's a track where you don't have to be quite so reserved in terms of time penalties. You know, they can bite you if you are a little bit too cautious or a little bit too lax on them, but it's a track which is one of the most popular tracks on the game. It's a real drive track. It's one you love to see in real life as well. And also, a bit like today, we could even see there is always that chance of rain as well with Spa.
It is. I do enjoy Spa. You know, it's a great track. There's a few I love a track where the corners, you know, it makes you hold your breath sometimes when you go around them, because you think, oh, you know, that might not go well. So yeah, I think, you know, there'll be a lot of overtaking down the straight. You know, there's a few overtaking opportunities around the track as well. So I think we'll be in for a great race. And like you said, there's a very, very high possibility of a bit of rain.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, 5 rounds left. Spa, Hungary, Baku, Russia, and then we finish off in Vietnam. And I'm sure these guys, if these guys fighting for the championship, would like to have probably got it over and done with before they head to Vietnam, which I can imagine being an absolute I don't know, cluster maybe, but I'm sure it'll be a very entertaining race to say the least. But I'm sure these guys won't want the pressure of going there with a championship dwindling on the final race. But we'll see how that goes. And of course the battle for 5th in the drivers, it looks like it's gone a little bit in the more favour of Speed Queen, who's in a little bit of a league of her own in 5th position, and similar Superman and Roy Boy not too far behind, and I Franklin as well, picking up another point scoring position after finishing P10. So that's his 4th point scoring position out of 5 in his first 5 races here at Invictus. I'm sure Meg will be a little bit disappointed, but I'm sure I'll be able to see the positives in the fact that he's had a fantastic qualifying lap, and particularly early on had a fantastic banker, and it looked like he was on for a good run of points, but I think the wet weather just sort of bit him back harder than he would like to. Had a few drivers missing tonight as well, which I'm sure we'll be hopeful to have back for round 8. I don't think it's looking as though we'll be able to get the top 3 in for podium interviews, which is a shame, but we will see you all hopefully for round 7 in Spa-Francorchamps, live on YouTube 8 PM as always on a Tuesday night. Myself and Scott will be bringing you all the live action for the last 5 rounds of this F2 season, and we very much hope you've enjoyed, and we hope to see you again very soon. And of course, if you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up and have a very good night.